Hello, this is Dr. Matt Bridgman with Neuropsychology for You. I would like to share with you today an introduction to the brain office metaphor and use this metaphor to help with understanding how the mind works, how the mind doesn't work, and what to do about it when it doesn't work. So let's talk about the mind. When we talk about the mind, we're going to talk about several areas of cognitive ability, including memory, attention, language, vision processing, executive functions, and moods and emotions. Of course, our mind does a whole lot more than that, but we'll just limit our conversation to that for today. So first, it's helpful to understand that different parts of the brain are specialized for doing different things. So the very back of the brain does the vision processing. The left side of the brain, for most folks, is specialized for language. Several parts of the brain help with attention. The temporal lobes to the sides and towards the center of the side parts help with memory. The front part of the brain, the frontal lobes, are specialized for executive skills. And the limbic system, which is a collection of structures deep up inside the brain, are specialized for managing moods and emotions. Now imagine that your brain is an office full of employees that work for you. You are the president of the whole company, but you have a number of employees that work for you in this office upstairs there. So in the very back, you've got that vision employee. And the vision employee helps with processing information that comes from your eyes, information like shape and color and movement and patterns. On the left side, you've got the language employee. The language employee is the communications officer or the public relations officer that helps with processing information that we hear, that we read, also helps us to express our thoughts. The attention employee is kind of like autopilot. It helps us to orient our brain to the environment, helps orient our mind to sensations in our body, and orient us to thoughts that are showing up in our mind. The memory employee, that's the file clerk of the office. It's responsible for getting new information into the file cabinet of our memory. It also helps to store that information there and help retrieve it and pull out information that we need when we need it. In the limbic system there, the emotion employee is the motivator of the office. It's the class clown, or better yet, the cheerleader. It helps to motivate and excite and energize the other employees to help them work harder and to do their jobs better. The emotion employee also serves as the safety officer of the office, and we'll go into a whole lot more detail about that in future videos. The front part of the brain, the executive functions, that is the office manager of the office. It's the boss of the office, the supervisor, your vice president, if you will. The office manager is responsible for those executive functions, which are more complex thinking skills like reasoning and problem solving, decision-making, organizing, planning, self-control, coordination of the other employees, and multitasking, among other things. So this is very much an office of employees. They all have to work together, and so they've got lines of communication called white matter that allow them to send messages back and forth to each other. There's one other employee in the brain that we should talk about, and that's in the very center of the brain. That's the central switchboard operator, I like to call it. That operator in the center is actually a number of structures that are called the basal ganglia. And that part of the brain is very important for routing messages back and forth between the other employees and also between the brain and the body. So really our schematic there for our wiring would look a little bit more like that. Wiring that connects each of these employees to each other, but also connects to the central switchboard in the center, and then a whole bunch of wires that then go from the basal ganglia down through the brainstem and the spinal cord out to the rest of the body. So here is the office of employees that work for you, the president. Now, if we imagine different tasks that we do during the day, different tasks require different employees to work together. So imagine, for example, just a little casual chit-chat. So talking with an old friend about the weather, about hobbies, something simple like that would require pretty much just the attention and language employees. Other parts of the brain might be working a little bit also, but really attention and language are going to be doing most of the work there. Office manager's not going to have to work so hard for that casual chit-chat. If in contrast, though, we're talking about some complex conversation, such as a debate or an argument, or a group conversation, or even a simpler conversation in the middle of a noisy restaurant or Walmart on Black Friday. Those kinds of conversations are going to require a whole lot more brain power. A lot more brain employees are going to have to wake up and get involved for those more complex conversations. So this is just a real quick overview of this brain office metaphor. This is really just an introduction. And I'm going to make up some more videos that are going to go into more detail using this brain office metaphor to understand memory, to understand memory problems, why our memory doesn't work sometimes. We're going to use this office metaphor to understand other cognitive disorders like dementia. We'll also use it to understand mood disorders, anxiety disorders, PTSD, and concussion, and even some how some different non-brain conditions might affect our mind and thinking in ways that you might not expect. So that's my brain office metaphor. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was helpful, and keep posted for some future videos going into more detail. Just a real quick disclaimer, this video is intended for informational and educational purposes only. Nothing in this video is intended to be used for specific diagnosis or treatment planning. Your use of the information in this video does not constitute a doctor-patient relationship. Thanks, and have a good day.